All right.
Yes, I can.
All right. So before we get into generative AI, we will have a brief discussion on AI. AI stands for artificial intelligence. Take an example, Tesla car. Tesla car is basically an AI product, right? You can see Tesla car like this, or even LiDAR car, where it clearly shows the sensors, all the sensors. In Tesla, we don't see those sensors, even though it has sensors, but it has been hidden, right? So it takes the sensors provides input to what? To machine learning or deep learning models. Machine learning or deep learning models act like a brain. It gives instruction by taking input from sensors. What sort of instructions in this case? It can be stop, or move right, or move left, right? Or maybe take U-turn, or move right. These sort of instructions, right? So just by giving those instructions doesn't mean that the car will act accordingly. The whole ecosystem, whole car, need to build to obey these instructions. Of course, the Tesla or any other car that is available right now, it is semi-autonomous, not completely autonomous. It has its own reasons because of the government regulations and other reasons. So the whole ecosystem, in this case, the whole car, need to be built to follow those instructions. So this whole ecosystem, what we call it as artificial intelligence. Are we going to build any car as such? No, obviously not. So even, let me give you a simple example. A chatbot that is embedded in a web application like this. Amtrak.com, this as a website. It has chatbot in it. In fact, you will see this sort of chatbots in various websites, right? So this chatbot under the hood has a deep learning model in it, a generative AI model, or conversational AI model. So embedding in this application makes this web application as an AI product. It is an AI product, right? So predominantly we use these models, this kind of generative AI models in mobile applications or web applications or desktop apps, not in the sort of Tesla cars or robots. Of course, we can use it, but this need a more a more robust models. But the idea is the artificial intelligence nothing but the whole ecosystem, whereas the brain, the main part that gives instructions by taking input from the various sensors, is basically a machine learning or deep learning models. Predominantly, we prefer deep learning model because that provides a better, better accuracy compared to machine learning models. In fact, machine learning, we call it as traditional approach, whereas deep learning is a modern approach. The key difference between machine learning model and deep learning model is machine learning is in fact an algorithm, a code written by someone else. Whereas deep learning is a neural network. It is going to be like this. It's going to be like this. Right now, we have two platforms wherein they provide free open source models for various categories and subcategories. You can see computer vision, right? Or natural language processing. All right. So before we get into it, let's discuss what is generative AI. So any questions up to here? Right.
No, I have a question. Like
Yeah,
AI,
please.
I understood, the AI part, which is like
The generative AI, you're saying that it's an interactive one, which is like a chatbot and call is a generative AI.
No, generative AI is basically it's a subdomain in
Okay.
AI that solely generates content.
Okay.
What sort of content it is? It can be text or code. Even code can be considered as text,
Mm-hmm.
or it can be images or videos, or it can be even audio.
Okay.
Predominantly, we are going to focus on text or code because images, videos, or audio are not production graded. Of course, audio is almost there, but one reliable provider is 11 Labs. But it's very expensive. If you look at the pricing, basically they provide text to speech or speech to text kind of services, API services. They don't provide the models, but they provide it in the form of API. And it is very expensive. You can see that for $5, it is 50 minutes only, 30
Mm.
minutes text to speech. Whereas for $99, it is around 500 minutes, right? So it's too expensive. If we go for an enterprise billing, it's going to be even more expensive.
Okay.
Uh, so predominantly we're going to focus on text talker because we have free open source models available for it. We call it as LLMs, large language model. Language in the sense it can generate text or code. That is the reason it's been called as language. Whereas large because of its large size. Earlier we used to call it as NLP, natural language processing. We still use natural language processing techniques in LLMs, but only some part of it, not completely. Things got changed drastically. Okay,
Yeah.
clear?
So this chat GPT and all those things are generative
Right.
AIs.
Exactly. It's generative AI.
Okay.
So we can even have our own ChatGPT kind of solutions. Let me
Mm-hmm.
show you. See, MSTY. This UI is again a free one, wherein we can embed Olama models. I show you this Hugging Face, right? There is another alternative also, Olama,
Mm-hmm.
wherein they provide access to. It's a platform wherein they provide access to various models, which are free. We can pull it. If you look at in my machine, I have around from 10 models.
So this llama is the one Meta one provided, right?
Exactly. So the
Okay.
Llama models being provided by Meta. Olama, I have no idea. So I think it is Olama built for Llama models,
Mm-hmm.
created by, let's see, Michael Chiang and Jeffrey Morgan are behind Olama. So they are
Okay.
not really from Meta, but this basically specifically created for Olama models. You can see the complete list. Whatever I have it here, I can have direct access to models right here itself. Let's take Quen 2.5 or even Quen 3, right? The Quen 3 with reasoning, MOE.
Mm-hmm.
It includes reasoning one also. It can, yeah, it can even answer more complex reasoning based questions. Can have your own completely free, solution right in your machine itself. ChatGPT, it costs you a bit, right? Of course, there is
Yeah.
a free version, but with a lot of limitation. Here, you don't have any limitation. The only glitch here is you have to have no better resource in your machine. I mean to say RAM, CPU, and GPU. Right now,
Mm-hmm.
I have 12 GB, so I can try up to 14 billion parameters.
Mm-hmm.
I can try even bigger if I have bigger GPU or more RAM CPU. But GPU
Okay.
is essential.
Okay. Okay. No, I got it because the GPU was very expensive for OpenAI, right? So that's why they're charging
Yeah,
$200 if you go with unlimited. Okay, got it.
yeah. And one $200, yeah, that one is a difference. ChatGPT or speak, right? So with Sora access.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a lot of limitations in Sora also, even with $200. So
Mm-hmm.
LLMs, language based, yes, there is no limitation. When it comes to images or videos, there are a lot of limitations to it.
Okay.
And you can even use an alternative one, so Grok, which is an alternative API, wherein they
Yeah.
provide Llama 70B model for free. But again, per minute, you will have some restrictions. You can't have more than some 200 or 300,
Mm.
requests per minute, kind of. But if you need completely a free, solution like this, the one that I have it here, you have to have GPU. Of course,
Okay.
it can work with CPU too, but it's going to take a lot of time. And you need to try the low-end models. If you look at Olama, I will go with Qwen 3. Here you can see 0.6B also you can try. Something that is going to work in CPU missions also. Whereas I
Mm.
am trying 14B. I can't go beyond 30B because 30B is around 119 GB. If I have 12 GB GPU, I can go up to 10 GB, a max 10.5. I should not go beyond that because it requires another additional 1 to 2 GB.
Mm.
That's the reason. You can see that it's almost full, right?
Mm.
11.5. If you look at Qwen 3 model size is around 9.3 GB,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. So thinking about is here. So if you can toggle in and toggle out, you can see that. All right. So I'll get back to the topics. I hope you got an idea what is AI and what is generative AI, right?
Yeah.
Any questions?
No, I'm good, I think.
No, another question. No,
Yeah, please. James, go ahead.
no,
You said you have it.
no, no, the questions. No, no question.
All right. Thanks. Okay, so let me a few examples here. So if you give a prompt like this, it's going to generate text like this. So you have seen an example here, right? This is one of the examples for text generation. There's another one summarizing text. So let's take if you give a document kind of thing, a large text, it's going to summarize it into few words. You can see it here. This is the output and this is the input. And it can even generate code. So you can see that I asked to generate Flask API for machine learning model. I got the code. You can, in fact, you can generate any sort of code. We have a tool here, right? Let's take generate a very basic to-do app in React, Django, Postgres, SQL, Shard, CN, Tailwinds, CSS. It's going to provide us the code. Of course, there are better alternatives for web applications, bold.ai. Here we have, so you can see this one. So the bold.ai. So specifically for web applications, we use this one. It's going to generate the files also. You can see it start generating the code, right? It is giving instructions on what need to be installed, and then how to start the project, and then various files and its codes. I don't know much Java, but still we can build an application just by knowing the basics. So you not to be an expert in it. The thing is that the tech intelligence or the knowledge has been replaced by AI. So that's the reason a lot of people losing their jobs. So earlier, in order to build an end-to-end web application or even desktop app or mobile app, we need 3 to 4 years of real-time experience. Now it's not much required really. 3 to 4 months of basic knowledge of any stack you choose, and along with generative AI solutions is good enough to build an end-to-end web applications. And it can even generate images or even videos. Let me show you. It can generate a video like this. Even though images, videos, we should not expect things to be 100% effective, perfect. There are flaws. Even if you look at Sora model, which is multi-trillion model, you will find a lot of flaws in it, right? And generating audio. So right now we have better models compared to how things were, compared to 6 or even 3 months uh, ago. So we can use it, but still these are not production grade. And if you choose to say external API, it's going to be very expensive. I show you, right, an example here, 11 labs. 11 labs is too expensive. But if at all you want to choose an external API for text to speech kind of, this is the best solution right now. And we are going to have a whole lot of libraries or frameworks in this course. This course is span around 3 to 3.5 months, 1 hour per day, 1 to 1.5 hours, Monday to Friday. Weekends, we rarely have sessions. So usually we're not going to have sessions on weekends, but in the last sessions, especially project phase, when we are going to have sessions even on weekends. That is going to be around 2 to 3 hours. So we start with Python. You don't require to learn Python to take up this course, but any programming knowledge in any programming language you choose, whether it can be C, C++, Java, whatever. So if you have basic knowledge about it, let's take if or for loop or while loop. If you have this basic knowledge in any programming language, that is good enough to start this course. So Python is something that you need not to learn to take up this course. You will start with Python basics. If you need detailed contents, you can go to vlrtraining.com, click on Generative AI, click on course content. Here you have the complete content and NumPy, Pandas, and various other sections. So NumPy and Pandas basically for data analysis, Matplotlib and Seaborn for visualization, math and statistics, which is a prerequisite to understand the AI concepts under the hood. PyTorch and TensorFlow basically for deep learning. We used to use TensorFlow a lot. Now things got changed. Predominantly use PyTorch. If you look at the scripts, mostly we have used PyTorch here. So for fine tuning and ways. So this is completely PyTorch, right? PyTorch has been built on top of Python, pure Python. Whereas TensorFlow is not really a Python library, but what we really have is basically a Python wrapper. But PyTorch is purely Python, built by Meta of Facebook. LangChain or LangChain family, we are going to use a lot. LangChain family, what I mean to say is LangChain, LangGraph, LangSmith, LangFlow. So these four. So LangChain for basic generative AI applications, LangGraph for agentic AI applications. LangFlow is basically a GraphQL user interface on top of LangChain. LangSmith for monitoring, for deployment. PyTorch is for deep learning. So if at all you want to fine tune on your own data, so then PyTorch is the way to do it. Of course, there are alternatives for it like LoRa, CLoRa kind of, but we can use PyTorch also. And Git and GitHub are basically for version control. Files, Chroma, or even there are various other vector databases. So these are basically to store vectors. So we don't store, in fact, any neural network you take, it cannot understand text or images or videos or even audio. So basically convert that into numbers, whereas text we convert into vectors. So those vectors need to be efficiently stored in some database. So Files for development, Chroma is some sort of, you can use it in production kind of, but there are better alternatives also. Or you can use any NoSQL solution in cloud to store vectors. Docker for microservices, most of it, if you look at this script, we have a whole section to create APIs. Dockerize it, and all the commands will be provided in the form of this commands.txt. Once we deploy this API, we can test it using test.py. So you don't require to have, other tools, external tools for it. So we can test it right away with this file. We have two endpoints here. Something comes from here, app.py. Even though this is Flask based, we can even convert this to Django API. So my suggestion is, if at all you're from non-Python background, so I request you to create APIs in Python, either Flask or Django, which is Pythonic one. Create APIs and embed it in your backends. It can be a Java stack, or it can be .NET stack, or any other. So create APIs in Python and use it in any programming language or any stack that you prefer to, because it is difficult to replicate things in other stacks, because there are too many libraries here. Almost for everything, you don't require to build things from scratch. So you have library or framework to build the solutions from end to end. Okay, so those who are from non-Python backgrounds, or request like, don't try to implement things in your own stack. Right? Implement it in Python, create an API, expose it any way you want. I mean to say, let's say Java stack, expose it to Java backend, and then use that API in Java backend, and then start working on it. Right? And here, when it comes to deployment, we are going to focus on Kubernetes deployment, whether it is Azure Kubernetes services or Amazon Elastic Kubernetes service, or it can be even in GCP Kubernetes service. And we're going to have a project on Azure AI Foundry, Amazon Bedrock, and Vertex AI. So those who have this, no, some of you may have this question, why we need multiple tools for deployment. Basically, there are three kinds of solutions: IaaS, infrastructure as a service; PaaS, product as a service; SaaS, software as a service. As part of IaaS, so we're going to have deployment in Kubernetes. That includes GCP Kubernetes. I haven't mentioned here, but we're going to have project in GCP Kubernetes cluster also. When it comes to product as service and software as service, we are going to use Vertex AI, Bedrock, and AI Foundry. Right now, things are merging. I mean to say, product as service and software as service are merging together, and they're providing in the form of a tool. Like good example is Azure AI Foundry. Okay, we can have direct access to APIs, or you can have direct access to the models. You can even fine tune on your own data, right in Azure AI Foundry. And when it comes to this Cosmos DB or DynamoDB, we can store the vectors. Let me show you an example how a vector looks like. Maybe don't have something like this, a matrix kind of. Not exactly like this. Yeah, it's going to be like this. Okay. So ECR content registry or Azure content registry, basically to store these Docker images. We build this Docker file, Docker images, right? So we store the Docker images, in Azure content registry or Elastic content registry in AWS, because this provides more security and it's private. Even though we have Docker Hub, we don't prefer Docker Hub to store Docker images, right? So it's always better to go for a cloud-based solution for content registries to store Docker images. This is Elastic Content Registry for AWS. Even we are going to have content registry in GCP also. And if it's GCP, it is Google Cloud provider. And various tools that we are going to discuss. So any questions till now?
Yeah, actually, I'm from Oracle Cloud background. I never
Okay.
experienced this. tools and all. I little bit familiar about the GitHub and all.
Okay.
Uh, Remaining tool, mostly I'm not aware.
Maybe you know Docker.
No,
All right.
only term Git I know.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm
So
thinking,
obviously,
pivot my career
yeah.
into this machine learning and the AI stuff. So that's why I'm interested in this course.
So we don't have any prerequisites to take up this course. The only prerequisite is you have to have some basic programming knowledge. It
Yeah,
can be any language.
I know Java well, PL SQL very well.
That is
Yeah,
good enough.
okay.
So if you and most of the scripts that we provide here is we provide in the form of template. Let's take machine learning, right? You spoke about machine learning. This is
Hmm.
one. This is a project on regression project. This is the whole script will be provided to you, and it has been prepared it in a way that you need to focus only on the first block,
Okay,
nothing else. We can build, just by providing the data set and the target column. If at all any columns need to be converted from one data to another, you can mention this list here. And if you want to drop any columns, you can mention it over here. And there are a few other options. That's something that we'll discuss it later. But this is the model name. So it's going to generate the model. And let me show you. Yeah, and it's going to dump it right here. So it's going to store it in this form. Of course, there is even more, not just generating the model, we need to generate an API on top of these models, to serve this, to serve to the end user. So we predominantly don't try to build the user interfaces. Rather, we prefer we better to build APIs, something that is going to be used by web developers or desktop app developers or management. Of course, we can build user interfaces using Streamlight or Gradio, but those are not going to be production grade. If at all a manager need a quick UI to serve a model, either you can use MSTY kind of, or else you can build your own Streamlight or Gradio, something that is part of this course. So we will discuss that. If you
okay.
look at projects, it is going to be around 10 to 15 projects on generative AI alone. Another 4 to 5 on machine learning and deep learning.
Okay.
When it comes to deep learning, we'll go in depth. So let me show you. So in order to bother about nodes, there will be a lot of code, lot of nodes. Let me show you another example on nodes. So you have seen a lot of code here, right? So for
Yeah.
maths and statistics, we will provide you the nodes. So the nodes is going to like, let's take what is correlation. It's a very basic example, something that you can manually calculate it. Of course, when it comes to implementation, we are not going to do it manually. We use various libraries. But under the hood, if you understand the concepts well, then implementation, like for longer run, it's going to be very helpful. This an example. This is an example data set, and this is how we calculate correlation. In fact, we start with covariance, and we'll try to understand the limitations of covariance, and then we will move on to correlation, and then we will move on to the actual code where we are going to implement this correlation. If you look at the script uh, for, you can see that here, right? This is where we are going to use correlation for feature selection. We select the most important features, right?
Yeah.
And I told you that we are going to have, get exposure to various platforms like Hugging Face, wherein you'll get free open source models. Another alternative is Olama. And not just that, we are going to discuss LM Studio, which is another alternative for this one, but for Hugging Face models. This one is for Olama. And GPT for all, basically another one. Uh, we can have access both Hugging Face and Olama too. But personally, I prefer, yeah, go ahead. Hello?
No, I don't have any questions.
Someone, all right, all right. Bold.dby basically to build an end-to-end web apps. In fact, the good thing about Bold.dby is it can generate the files, the complete stack. You can see complete data structure. Is all not been manually created. So it has been created by Bold.dby. You can use any model, any up-to-date model here. Or else if you don't have a GPU, you can use Grok. You can see that Grok has been used here, right? So for any production based project that we provide, we will provide a Grok as an alternative to test it. Of course, we can't use it in production, but it will help you to test it. In production, obviously, we will have a GPU VMs, GPU-based VMs. Let's say this is another tool that we are going to use. If at all you don't have any graphical user interface, if it is completely terminal-based, then we are going to use Aider. This one is basically Aider. But in terminal itself, you can get access to the model. You can generate the code or text or any explanation, code explanation that you want, or any modifications to any file. It's going to even create files if at all that particular file doesn't exist. I can modify files too. So yeah, everything you can do it in Aider itself, in the terminal itself. And Visual Code, if at all you have access to Visual Code, Continue is a better alternative. It's completely free and you can plug in your own Olama models or even OpenAI kind of. Projects, as I told you, that we are going to have at least 10 to 15 projects. If you look at this one, this is basically around 5 to 6 products right here itself. All on fine-tuning, quantization, testing, API, end-to-end. Okay, something that you're not going to get it online. And here you can see a few screenshots of various projects. This basically we ran Docker. We're trying to build Docker image here for one of the projects. Right, we are testing it. So after we create containers, we're testing it, and page output is this one. You can see that, right? Sentence. This is basically a project on fill mass. Fill mass is kind of fill in the blanks. You can see the capital of France is kind of dash mass. Capital of France is France, Paris, right? So in same way, this is basically for batch and this for single row input. This is one of the examples for image reading projects. Basically, if you provide an image, it's going to read the image and it's going to explain that. And this is one of the examples for document reader. So in some case, the LLM models will have its own limitations, right? Basically, the LLM models be trained on data that is more generic, widely available in public. What about your own data, your own private data? Let's take finance data or HR data. So we need to build RAG-based applications like this, which is basically a document reader here. We can upload documents right here by dropping it, and then you can start asking questions. Okay. And this is another example for social media summarizer. So if you give any topic, it is going to summarize the comments or any topic that is being posted on social media, and it's going to give the concise information on it. This is an Azure-based project. This is an AWS-based project. We directly get output from the cloud. And this Bedrock, one of the products in Bedrock, there's Azure AI Foundry we're going to have access to. So we don't really require GPU-based VMs for it. So you can have access to the models directly, and you can start embedding, create your own APIs. And basically, it is 1 hour per day, Monday to Friday. We rarely have sessions on weekends, especially in the project phase, in the last stage of the course. So we're going to have sessions on weekends. Apart from it, we usually have sessions from 1 to 1.5 hours, Monday to Friday. And it's going to be around 3 to 3.5 months. Okay. And for more information, you can visit vlrtraining.com. not
At
dot in. We are
what
trying dot.
we
Yeah,
are
go
going
ahead.
to have classes?
Sorry.
Like it will be the same time we will have classes, or it will be like different
Yes,
time?
at the same. No, the same time. 6 a.m.
6
IST.
a.m. Okay. Okay.
So, um, 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 on the same time, there's gonna be
Your voice is
like
not clear and it is echoing.
yes, on the same time, it's gonna be on like 6 Central, right?
6 a.m. IST, and I don't know which time zone you are in. Which time zone you are in?
It's Central.
Okay,
Central.
CST. CST. All right. So 7:30 p.m. CST in your case. 7:30 to 8:30 or 9.
Okay, that's fine. It's 7:30. That's fine.
Yeah.
Would it be possible to move little late, like around 6? I mean 6:30 a.m. IST.
Communicate to institute. I mean Venkat sir.
Okay.
Let's see what he will decide. So,
Okay. Okay.
I can't decide on it. Like he's
Okay.
the right person to contact.
Okay. And what would be the fees for this course?
Again, that is something you need to contact Venkat sir. I think WhatsApp community has been created, right? So you can post it over there.
Okay.
Chat access.
Okay.
Or else you can directly call to him. See, this is the contact number.
Okay.
And this India-based number, so 91 90598 68766.
Okay.
And there's a WhatsApp number too. So, or else you can simply click on this one.
Mm.
It will take to WhatsApp page,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And for detailed content, as I told you, the vlrtraining.com, or else search in Google VLR training. Don't click on this one, vlrtraining.in. Instead, you need to click on vlrtraining.com. So
Okay.
click on it, Generative AI. And for contact number, here it is. WhatsApp, you need to click on this. Course content, you need to click on this.
Okay. So, do you regularly work on these projects, like in your day-to-day job?
Yes.
You working on
In
AI
fact,
stuff?
otherwise we can't produce these sort of projects.
Yeah, that's what I
Something,
was thinking,
yeah.
right?
So you're not going to get end to end. So
Mm.
even though there are a lot of projects available in GitHub, more than 90% of the projects that will, error prone. So they
Mm.
keep getting errors, and those are not end to end projects.
Mm.
And if you look at these scripts, this one for machine learning, this is again something that I use it in my production.
Mm.
But this has been added later. So once I start the course, started teaching, this has been added based on one of the students' requests.
I see.
Earlier, we don't have this block. The
Okay.
key things that if at all you want to tweak, so here it is. Of course, if you go through code, you can modify it according to your own requirement, but only it is around 10 to 20%.
Mm.
Most of the keys, like you don't require to make any modifications.
Okay.
And what else? So I think I had given the overview of the content and other questions that you may have. Duration, as I told you,
Yes,
it is.
another.
Go ahead.
And when will it start? When will it start? And how
Today
much
is
is it?
yeah, today is Friday, so we'll start from Monday, coming Monday.
Okay. And how much is it?
How much in the sense like the free you're asking?
Yes,
No,
that's right.
okay. So fee you need to communicate to Venkat sir, the VLR training institute. So I'm going to handle the technical part. The fee or any changes in the schedule or any other stuff, right? Administrative related. So you need to speak to them. If it is technical stuff, I'm going to answer.
So you're gonna cover both the AWS environment and the Azure environment, correct?
Yes, and GCP also.
And GCP. Okay, good.
Yeah.
What about on the certification? What kind of certification can someone has on this?
You have a lot of cloud-based certifications. I'll suggest few. AWS and Azure are better rather than GCP. So if at all you're interested to take up any certification, so you can go for it. That will cost you around some 5,000 to 10,000 rupees, somewhere around $100 to $200.
Okay, okay, that's fine. Okay, all right. What about on the AI, on the Gen AI? Is that any cert on the Gen AI?
This course is completely on generative AI. In fact, it is machine learning and deep learning basics, and then specialization is going to be on generative AI. In fact, there are a lot of subdomains in AI, not just generative AI. We're going to focus more
Oh,
on generative AI. And certifications I am going to suggest you on definitely going to be on generative AI.
all right.
And we have few data engineering projects, around 3 to 4 projects. So if at all you get any ad hoc activities like handling data, so these projects are going to be very handy. Of course, this course is not on data engineering as such, but data engineering part is basically we get it on ad hoc basis. So we should be in a position to understand it. So that's the reason we have included 3 to 4 projects on data engineering.
Okay.
Right?
So what exactly the data engineering team does? Like they get the data and they manipulate the data and they present it to
Exactly. So you're an Oracle developer or Oracle DBA?
Oracle functional person.
Or so we take data from various sources. It can be structure, semi-structure, or unstructured, and then we pre-process it or pre-process it, we manipulate it, and then we dump it in one or two database or any
Okay.
format that you choose. Yeah,
Okay.
that's and in order to complete the complete data engineering flow, we're going to include visualization based tools like
Okay.
Looker
Yeah.
Studio
Power
or
BI.
QuickSight
Yeah.
or Power BI kind of.
Tableau. Yeah. Okay. And I saw one more class also. I think you conducted it. One more demo. I just saw that it's in different time.
Yeah, we have batches on weekends and we have batches on weekdays also.
The one you did it in Telugu, which is
Right, yesterday, 8 a.m. IST.
that is 8 a.m. IST. Okay.
8 a.m. IST. Yesterday we had demo and today we are starting the batch.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
No, I think we're good. Yeah. Thank you.
James and who else? All right. It looks like, okay, you have joined with 2 accounts, right? James?
Because on my laptop, I have on my laptop and also on my cell phone. So
All
it's
right.
easier so I can see it on my laptop. That's why.
All right. No issues. If you have any questions, let me know.
So uh, Gen AI, this is gonna be on the basics, right? Correct.
No, your voice is not clear. Again, it's breaking quite frequent. So come again.
You know, on this Gen AI course, we're gonna be taking that. We're gonna be more on the basic, right? Correct.
So you not to know any basics. The only prerequisite here is you need to have some programming knowledge. So we're not going to teach you how to build logic, but we'll explain you the code. Let me give an example. So here we have a lot of code, right? We'll explain you bit by bit, step by step, line by line, bit by bit. That includes concepts under the hood. But we're not going to help you to build the logic, something that you have to learn data structures or algorithms. In fact, that is not necessary anymore. We can use these sort of tools, right? LLM based or generative AI solutions to generate code.
Okay.
So a lot of people are now not learning data structures or algorithms. They start relying on generative AI solutions to generate code. The one thing you need to do is stitch these modules together and create an end-to-end solution. That's all you need to do.
Okay. All right.
If you get any bugs, the generative AI solutions like these sort of tools will help you. or even to generate test cases, we can use LM models for QA kind of. Yeah. So, yeah, any other questions?
Enough of mine.
All right, we'll meet on Monday. So speak to Venkat sir if at all you need, a change in the schedule, or if it's related to fee also, you need to speak to Venkat sir, VLR Training Institute.
Okay,
Right?
yeah, sure, Damodar. Thank you so much.
All right.
Great.
Thanks a
And
lot
thank
for
you so
joining.
much.
Yeah. Thank you.